Hopefully everybody had a chance that's online to download the handout. So go to that website, mnsales.com/morelaw. You can get the handout. All right, here's our objectives today. We're going to talk about when and how to initiate a testimonial request, how to proactively start a new conversation with an existing client, what to say during those conversations when we're talking about referrals and introductions, and what is the greatest influence when making a decision. So what is the greatest influence from potential clients on making a decision on hiring an attorney? So let me start off with a question. Can we ask someone you have an existing relationship with for an introduction or referral to someone that you don't know if you have not worked with or hired you? They have not worked with or hired you. Can you ask somebody for a referral or introduction?
Yes.
Yes, right? That's the first question that we have to get past. And that's a conceptual barrier in our mind. We might feel like I can't ask a referral or introduction to somebody that I don't know through somebody I do know if I have not been hired by that person, which is a belief. It's a belief that we have. And our beliefs support our behaviors, and our behaviors give us our results, our outcome. So if we're not getting the results or the outcome that we want, we have to look at our behavior and then determine what belief is influencing that behavior. There's many people that say, I cannot ask for a referral or introduction unless they've hired me, unless they know what kind of work I do, unless they've bought from me in the past. I cannot ask for a referral, which is simply, it's not true. It's real, but it's not true. So if we look at our existing networks, when it comes to attorneys, can we talk to people that we have an existing relationship with and ask for a referral introduction? Yes. Can we make cold calls and solicit people that we don't know? Only if it says advertisement, and then it becomes a whole nother issue that we don't want to get into today. But it creates a little bit of a barrier, but it also puts you in a bit of a higher caliber of person when you are asking for a referral and introduction, because there are some limitations on how you can market and prospect. So can we ask for an introduction legally? Yes. How would they feel if you mailed or called them and asked them for a referral and introduction to someone they know? So if you're calling your existing network, people that you already know, and asking them for a referral or introduction, do you think they'd be upset? Do you think they might come across as being desperate? Do you think they might be complimented? So we have to think about it from the prospect's end, our client's end, as to how do they feel when we ask them for referrals and introductions. And really, what's holding us back from contacting others? And I find that it really falls into two areas. It's one, it's our belief system. So we don't feel like we believe that that is going to put us in the best light, so we don't execute on a behavior, or we don't know what to say, or we don't know how to say it, or we don't know when to say it. And we're going to cover most of our area is going to be in that area. So I'm going to work on the techniques and the technical aspects, but we also have to work with supporting our beliefs and our barriers, because if we don't get through those conceptual barriers, we won't execute on the techniques. So they require both in order for us to get the outcome that we want. So what's holding us back sometimes is called referral aversion. And this is a technical, legitimate reluctance, and it's out of the book, Psychology of Sales, called reluctance. And it's characterized by an emotional discomfort associated with asking existing clients or prospects for referrals. We feel like we're going to threaten an existing relationship. We're going to damage the delicate rapport with existing clients. We may think that the extraordinary service that we offer will automatically prompt our clients to volunteer referrals and introductions, or we might appear as grasping, desperate, or we're exploiting the existing relationship. So referral aversion is a reluctance based on a distorted feeling or a perception of prospecting. And it's distressful feeling that's caused by the view we take of the things in the situation, but not the situation itself. Is it real? Yes. Is it true? It's not true. And there are 11 different types of cold call reluctance that people deal with when it comes to using the phone for prospecting. And I find this one, obviously with the topic of referrals, is the one that's most applicable. I deal with a lot of salespeople. I've been in sales training since 2002, almost 20 years. And prospecting and cold calling is probably the biggest challenge for salespeople. I work with a lot of salespeople, and the aversion that they have when it comes to prospecting is different types, identifying the type in the belief system, and then work on the techniques to implement it. A little bit more about my history. I worked at Thomson Reuters when it was West Group back in 97 to 99. I sold firm sites, websites, to attorneys on the East Coast. So I had New York, New Jersey, Washington. I was one of 5 inside sales reps in the department, and I was the top rep. I doubled my quota my first full year in 1998. I was newest to the company, and I was newest to the department. I doubled my quota because I made more outbound phone calls than anybody in my department. I was not the smartest. I was the newest, and I doubled my quota because I called attorneys. And I had small law firms, and my pitch was pretty much, when you're on the internet, this is your worldwide reputation that we're talking about. You can get a website through Joe's Internet Service and Bait Shop, not a problem. They'll probably charge you 25% about what we're going to charge you. We've been charging you 4 times the amount for the last how many years, and we're going to be around for the next how many years. So we're talking about your reputation on the internet. You don't want your website to be down, especially when you're printing the URL on the yellow pages, which was still popular in the late 90s. And then when somebody goes to your web page, it doesn't load because Joe's Internet Service and Bait Shop was closed. And you can't get a hold of your domain name. You can't get a hold of your user interface. You can't get a hold of anything because nobody's around, and you have to start all over again. That's what sold attorneys on Thomson Reuters, West Group at the time. So I really enjoyed it. I left there, went and worked at Minnesota Lawyer newspaper. So I sold ads and put on events. The first event that I put on was the Attorneys of the Year event back in January of 2002. And our keynote speaker was Mario Cuomo. So I got to spend a day with him, starting at the morning when he flew in until the next morning when he flew out. So when we start talking about beliefs, this Mark Twain comment comes to mind, and it says, I've had a lot of worries in my life, which most of them have never happened. So we can make a lot of things up that hold us back. It's got some great quotes. So that's when we call. So we're going to call an existing prospect, not existing, an existing client, and we're going to talk to them about referrals and introductions. So it really shows that we're committed to your existing practice. Here's one of the things that I think of when I'm talking about asking for referrals and introductions. I used to meet with my financial planner every year. Randy was his name. And about the 3rd year, I would ask Randy, I go, Randy, how come you never ask me for any referrals or introductions to people that I know? I think I'm pretty well connected in the community, and I've come from a family and one of 10 siblings, so just my family alone could give you a headache and plenty of business. How come you never ask me for any referrals or leads or introductions? He says, that's just not the way I roll. That's just not the way I run my practice. I said, oh, interesting. He's not in business anymore because he just never wanted to leverage his network. And as a customer of his, a client of his, I was asking, how come you don't want more people like me? Am I not a good fit for your practice or your firm or your business? Am I outside the scope? Am I not good enough for you? This is what I was thinking as a customer of his, a client. And I was a good fit. It's just that he never asked me for new referrals and introductions. So when you ask your clients, their existing clients for introductions and referrals, they're complimented. We'll give you some words on how you can say that. It promotes your commitment to growing your practice and your client base by duplicating your existing client characteristics. So who are the people that your clients know are people similar to them? People hang around people that they're like. And you have to really focus on the common client characteristics when you're asking your existing client base for people like them. It proves that you're not slowing down and you're not looking to get out of the business. You're growing your practice. How many businesses are not interested in growing their practice? What are they not doing? They're not asking for new clients. They're not interested. They're winding it down. So when you ask your existing clients know you want to build your business. You want more business. You're going to be around. You get a chance to express your appreciation to your clients. I really enjoy working with you. I want more people like you. And you get a chance to express that appreciation. And really, what's the worst case scenario? Is anybody think of a worst case scenario when you call an existing client and ask them for a referral or an introduction. I can't think of it, but since you go through the scenario, what could possibly happen that would be bad?
You might think, didn't you make enough money off of me? You really need more work?
Right, that could be. Now, that's a belief, right? So you have to think, did I offer him a great service, great value at a reasonable price? And if we think that we did, then that shouldn't be holding us back. So there's our own belief system that either supports our actions or holds us back. Any other?
I mean, they could fire you, but that's pretty extreme, you know? and
Well,
it would
yeah.
be, I mean,
Especially if you're expressing your appreciation.
yeah. But if, you know, if they got a feeling that you were, you know, asking them for more business and, you know, they were, for whatever reason, they read into that,
Yeah, and how they
Yeah.
misinterpreted it.
but that's pretty extreme.
Yeah. And if they're that sensitive, you might want to wonder
Right.
if they're going to set you free.
Sometimes the kind of case you're working on is one that they want to sort of keep under wraps. So
Sure, of
if they're
course.
referring you to someone else, they're going to say, well, what kind of work did he do for you?
Yeah.
I got me out of jail when I
Oh, well,
was charged with pedophilia.
Yeah.
Well, they could always say, oh, I know him socially.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So think about the worst case scenario. When you receive a compliment, this is a great chance to ask for a recommendation or a testimonial. So we'll also include some of those this presentation today. So a client is pleased with your service upon completion and they give you a compliment. So that's a great time to ask for an introduction or referral or a testimonial. And we'll talk a little bit about how we can do testimonials. When we hear a compliment from them, we can ask them, thank you for telling me that. I really appreciate it. I enjoy working with you too. And I want to build my practice with more people like you. What would you be willing to write a testimonial that I can share with others, thinking about hiring me and wondering what it's like to be a client? So you're really telling them, here's how I'm going to use this and make it a lot easier for them to support you in your practice. And in some cases, some prospective clients want to have references. And you're really hesitant about doing that because it's like, you know, my clients are really private people. They don't like others to know about their legal situations where they've required an attorney. So I'm not really comfortable recommending anybody that I can give you as a recommendation. However, I do have some testimonials from some clients that I've worked with in the past. And now those loyal clients can write a testimonial and then you can share that with the prospective client. Hopefully that's enough. I think LinkedIn is very powerful when it comes to recommendations. I've got over 56 LinkedIn recommendations. Somebody's thinking about hiring me and they want references. I go, why don't we connect on LinkedIn, see who you know, ask them, or look at my recommendations. Takes all the pressure off of me having to come up with examples.
I put my testimonials right on a page in my website.
Yeah, so do I.
Sometimes they're slightly anonymous, you know, CEO of major distributor, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. On LinkedIn.
Better than no test.
Right. Yeah, in some cases, if somebody puts a recommendation on LinkedIn, I copy it right off LinkedIn and I put it on my website. They've given me the testimonial already. They've already endorsed me, and I'm just sharing the distribution of that.
I've actually offered to write the testimonial and then send it to them and they can edit it or add to it. You know, it makes it easy for them.
That's my next example, David. So you write out 3 bullet points and ask them to put it in their own testimonial. Yeah. So when they give you a compliment, tell them I really enjoy working with you. Would you mind putting that in writing? I'd really love to share it with other people that are wondering what it's like to work with me and what it's like to be a client when they work with me. And would it be okay if I were to just, you know, write out 3 bullet points of things that you've already told me? And then I can email it to you, you rewrite it, and then you can post it on Google, or you can post it on LinkedIn, or you can send it to me separately. Avo is another one that gets a lot of traction. A lot of traction. Anybody on Avo? Or, yeah, so it's becoming very influential. So when should you offer to ask for a referral or a recommendation? It's probably every time we talk with someone, there's an opportunity. So we can say, thanks for your time on the phone or reading this email. Put it at the end of your emails. Please keep in mind when you hear others talking about whatever area of law you're practicing, I really want to build my practice with more people like you. Thank you, thanks. Or we could say, as you know, I practice this area of law, and I'm committed to building my practice with more people like you. Is there anyone you know that I should meet to discuss more about what I do? It's a very casual conversation. So if you look at the words and they're going, that just doesn't make a lot of sense, but I think everybody gets the meaning of it. And it's not meant to be formal. It's meant to be very casual so that it doesn't come across as being too pressure. Is anybody not comfortable using that, given the right opportunity? You know, we need to be comfortable with our beliefs in order to execute different techniques like this. But it's very sort of passive, and it also expresses appreciation to your prospects. Some benefits of asking for referrals is it doesn't require any additional marketing dollars or research to be invested. Or greater credibility from your personal introductions than it would be from advertising, and sometimes advertising doesn't necessarily communicate the greatest credibility. It shortens your sales cycle, so most people that are going to call you are probably going to hire you because they're asking for a recommendation from somebody else, or you're mentioning them from somebody else. You really tighten your client base, so you've got similar people, and you're really focusing on your practice. I've recently heard a story about an attorney that practices one area of law, and one of their clients gets into another situation, and this attorney wanted to take on that situation completely outside their area of law. And they were just pulling their hair out. And they go, I'm never going to do that again. It's because sometimes we want to refer business to other people that concentrate in that area of law. We don't want to concentrate on that. We want to concentrate on a specific area. And when we ask for referrals in a specific area, we really increase our focus on that. People ask me to do customer service events. It's not my sweet spot. I usually refer it out to somebody else. One of the things that we can do is we can call a connection. So one of our, let's say, LinkedIn connections or existing connections, and we can go through a script like this, or kind of using this as a guide. You say, hi, John. Yeah, Scott told me to catch you in the middle of something. It's now a bad time. I'm calling to ask you a favor. So you're putting it right up front. Say, first, I want to thank you for hiring me in the past, or recommending to others, or selecting me to represent you, or you're just thanking them for the involvement in the group that you're a part of. It might be another board member, it might be somebody that's in an association. And you say, I enjoy working with you. My favor is to build my network with more people like you. Who do you know you'd feel comfortable introducing me to where I can have the same type of conversation that we have? It's very non-threatening. It's a bit assumptive because you're saying, who do you know? Not saying, do you know anyone? Which is close-ended question versus who do you know, which is more of an open-ended question. And they might not know of anybody at that time. So you say, that's okay. Just keep me in mind. Let me know that I really want to grow my practice with more people like you. And if you get into a habit of doing that, every time you talk with somebody, what's going to happen is they're going to be thinking of you when you're not even asking them for referrals. They're going to be in a conversation. They're going to go, oh yeah, I know this attorney that practices that area of law. Why don't I'll send you their information and I'll copy them on it, and then you can reach out to them directly. And now you're building that reputation of wanting to build your practice within a certain area in a certain niche. And you want to focus it, want to tighten your sales cycle, want to be able to strengthen your client base with like people that are in the same area, whatever likeness that is. What are some of the possible outcomes when that happens? Is your connection is going to call the prospect on your behalf. So you call somebody and say, yeah, I can think of somebody. I'll call them on your behalf. You can set an appointment with your contact to discuss what that particular referral source is, that person. The connection can give you other prospects or companies or other ideas that you might want to consider working with. So you're really asking them for some insight as to other good fits that would concentrate on your practice group. Your connection shares some information about or with you about the prospect that you're going after, the contact that you want to talk to. And that can cause your pursuit to pause. You can say, well, they're in the middle of doing this, this, and this, and I don't know now is the right time to contact them. So we get more information about it. I've used this technique when I see something in the paper about a company, somebody gets promoted, and I want to get an introduction to that person. So I'll look on LinkedIn, put the person's name in there. Say it's a small business owner. They just won an award, so they're increasing their activity. And I'll look at my connections, see if I know anybody that's connected to them. I've got 5,500 LinkedIn connections. Most likely, there's a good chance I got somebody that knows them. Then I would call that person and say, I'm thinking about calling them. You know them well enough where you might be able to introduce me, or can you tell me something about them that you know? And they get more information that causes me to spin my approach accordingly to what information I get. And I might call more than one person that's connected to that person. So I really have a well-rounded approach in doing it. LinkedIn is a powerful program to do it. And I have the free version, but I don't pay, so everything I recommend is in the free version. And the last one is you find out what's going on with your existing connection. So you get to really stay top of mind awareness with your existing connections. And if you're expressing that appreciation for the people that are in your network, then they know that they'll keep you in mind for recommending you for other people.
Scott, I know that people are very comfortable with doing email introduction.
Yeah.
It's painless. You just do an introduction and then they copy the person that they're introducing you to, and then they take it from there.
Yeah. I find
Phone calls are a little bit harder to ask.
they can be. They're a little bit more personal though too, and it kind of softens up an email in some cases. I've used LinkedIn and then I forwarded a profile to one person and copied the other person, so they both get profile, let them know that I introduced them to each other, and then they've got information on each other. But email introductions are great. Some of the scripts, you can cut it right out of here and put it in an email. And if you send out regular client communication, or you just want to send an email out to everybody, just expressing appreciation for them being in your network and knowing them, and just saying, I'm back in business, I'm working again, I'm grateful for any introductions, referrals you can send my way. Enjoy the summer. And it just that top of mind awareness, so people keep you in mind with their thinking about it. Any other comments or questions so far? Common expectations when you are getting a referral or an introduction from somebody else is that you're going to discuss something that's worthwhile. It's going to be a meaningful conversation. It's not going to be a hard sell on somebody, but it's going to be a meaningful conversation. It would be an enjoyable experience. The time would be respected on both sides. And keep in mind that when you are getting a referral to somebody else, the person that gave you that referral, that connection that you have, wants to know the outcome. And I've done this many times where I've recommended somebody to a friend or client or prospect, and then I'll follow up with that person a week later and say, did you ever have a chance to connect with so-and-so? And they say, no, they never called me. Or, yeah, I did talk with them, and this is what they said, or whatever. They said they were going to send me something, and they never sent me something. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of disappointing. So then I know this is the type of service that somebody that I'm recommending is giving prospects that call me and ask for help. I'm going to be a little reserved about recommending that person again, because they're not following through. When they say they do something, they don't do it. And that reflects negatively on me. So I start to follow up every time I recommend somebody. Is how did it go? Can you tell me how it went? Or I'll ask them, could you call me after you make a connection with them? And then I know how the conversation went, because I want to be able to have a very high class, high caliber, high credibility referral network. I'm recommending somebody, and I want to be able to be specific to what somebody needs when they ask me for an introduction. And then make no okay. If you're calling somebody and they're saying, I just don't know anybody right now. That's fine. It's not a problem at all. Just keep me in mind, and we'll stay in touch. Okay, great. And maybe they're just not comfortable doing that, and that's okay. You don't want to threaten your existing relationship, right? You don't want the client to fire you because you called and asked for a referral or recommendation. So we have to make no an acceptable outcome and not feel like we're pressuring people that we are connected to in doing that. Testimonials. How many are using testimonials? This is the most influential area when it comes to people making a decision, is looking at, does past performance indicate future results? In testimonials, it does have a strong influence in it. And LinkedIn, I think with recommendations is very powerful in that, but you have to be connected to somebody. Sometimes you're not connected to everybody, depending on the area of law that's on LinkedIn. There are always Google reviews, which in most cases, everybody can give you a Google review. And if you get a chance, include that Google review link in your email signatures. And if you want to grab that Google icon that says Google Testimonials or Google Reviews and put it in there, when they click on that link, they go right to your Google review or web business page, and they can leave you a testimonial there. Keep in mind that the more Google reviews you have, the higher rating you have, the higher you show up in search results. So when Google is most common popular search engine, the more Google reviews you have, the higher you're going to appear. And Google's going to start pushing you out. Avo, same thing. You've got Avo and you see all the testimonials there. Consumers are looking at that. Legal consumers are looking at that. Here's a way that you can ask for a testimonial is when somebody gives you a compliment, you can say, thank you, I really appreciate that. I'm curious what you liked about working with me. So this is where we really want to get specific about what was it that you did that other person liked. You say, thank you. Would you be willing to put that in a written testimonial? Again, here's a great chance for you to put it into 3 bullet points or add more about it and then send it to them. You can give them the link to the Google review and ask them to write it, click here, paste it, and you got it. And they can do that within 3 minutes. But you have to ask for those reviews. Don't think that people are automatically going to give you a review. And it's just so influential on Google when it comes to search results. You found it there. And people are looking at that. And that's how they're making their decision. Think about all the decision points that somebody makes before they even pick up a phone, call you, or even send you an email. They probably go through at least 3 or 4 different decisions before they get to that point. So when they call you, there's a good chance that they're going to stop looking when they reach out to you because of the influence that that third-party endorsement came from. Any other comments or questions on testimonials? Any other success stories that people have?
Best time to ask for them is when you get the check.
Oh,
And asking for the check is usually a good time when there's a favorable ruling or verdict or order that's just come down.
right.
A lot happens in that little 2 or 3 day period when
Yeah.
good news comes in.
There's the euphoric feeling.
Strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, and the experience is most familiar too. So yeah, but we have to ask for them. Video testimonials are starting to become more popular. They're a little bit more work. They can become very influential. I'll just give you a script that I use. I work with an attorney and she's done, I'm trying not to exaggerate, 50 different video testimonials. And I record them, and she's sitting at the end of the table with the client, and I have a microphone that's right on the table so you can hear it, good lighting. And I will ask the client after the legal situation is over with, describe your legal situation. This is not a verbatim video. It is edited down. So it takes about 10 minutes to get all this. It's edited down to about a minute or 2 minutes. I'll say, describe your legal situation. And they'll say, well, I was going through divorce and I needed to find an attorney. And then I'll say, how did you search for an attorney? So give me the decision map that you went through when you were looking for an attorney. Because this is very similar to everybody else that's going through this process maybe for the first time. Well, I went on the internet and, I found different attorneys. And then I'll say, what made you decide to contact her? Well, I saw this and this. So now we're really getting into what's most influential in making that decision. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank her work? Well, I would give her a 10 or an 11. And I said, okay, that's great. What did you like most about working with her? And then they'll get into something specific. This is something that potential clients really look for. Well, she really returned my calls, promptly. She was very thorough. She was just very empathetic. She just was a really good listener. She really knew where I was coming from. She really gave me, great ideas on how to deal with this. Then, how did you feel about the outcome of the situation? Oh, I was very happy. I was very pleased. Attorneys can't guarantee any outcome, but how did you feel about your outcome? I was very happy. I mean, I really felt like it was a fair decision at the end. And then last question is, how would you describe her to others? Well, I would tell them that she does this or this, and I highly recommend them. So you're giving the entire decision that a prospect goes through when making a decision of who to hire. And you're asking all those questions that a legal prospect is asking when they decide to hire an attorney. Anybody done legal testimonials or any other experiences with that? But you can do, a recording of a legal testimonial on an iPhone. You have to keep in mind that the audio is as important as the lighting, so those are the two things that are most important. Then you can find somebody to edit a video. I use a guy that charges like $75 an hour, and he can usually get it done in 2 hours. And you've got, $150 testimonial video that has a tremendous life on it. And I work with this attorney on the video testimonials. I will number each video. Now they're not sequential. And sometimes we might skip a few numbers. So when it gets to testimonial number 73, it makes it appear like, wow, I mean, there's 73 video testimonials. No, we also include written ones that are not videos, but this is number 73 in this thing. The prospect thinking, wow, 73 video testimonials, and they must be really good. That carries a lot of weight. We want to make sure that we covered our objectives today. So when and how to initiate a testimonial request. Did we cover that? Any questions on that? How to proactively start a new conversation with an existing client. We gave you some scripts, different situations. What to say during a conversation. So when we're in a conversation with somebody, we know how to ask for a referral or recommendation or a testimonial or a recommendation. And then what has the greatest influence when it comes to making decisions. When legal prospects are looking at hiring an attorney, what has the greatest influence? And in most cases, it's the testimonials that other clients have had, plus, the actions of the attorney when it comes to listening to the situation, really uncovering what is the goal, what do you want to accomplish in this particular legal situation, what's the outcome that's most acceptable, asking them what other options they're looking for, finding out what criteria they want when it comes to hiring an attorney. There's so many different things that legal prospects have when it comes to hiring an attorney. Any other comments or any other experience that people have when it comes to working with clients that makes it easier for clients to reduce the fears when potential clients are talking with an attorney? Most likely it's a situation that is unfamiliar to the client. They're nervous about the process. They don't know the different steps that are involved. And the more they're aware of the decisions that have to be made, different options that are available, is going to be able to really reduce that fear of losing control of it.
I found the best referrals that I've received are referrals from other attorneys.
Yeah.
So when a case is over, I ask the client if I can go back to the attorney and say, can we report back on how great things went and how happy you are, and sort of keep the pipeline open.
Yeah. And how happy you are is a vague. Is it subjective or objective? That's subjective.
Yeah.
Say on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank working with me? Or how would you think the client would rank? And that's a little bit more specific, because if they say a 9, you're gonna say, well, thanks. What did they really like that gave me a 9? Why so high? Now you can get specifically as to what they liked about you. But keep in mind that what they liked about you is where they found the most value. So you want to keep doing that. That's something that separates you from everybody else, and that's an expectation they had that you fulfilled. You may or may not have known it at the time, but you say, I noticed that you didn't give me a 10. What's missing? What did I not do? What happened that I didn't get a 10? Because they held that back for a reason. And that's where you can really work on improving your engagement, your practice, your communication, whatever it is. You may or may not be able to change it, but at least you know what it is. And when you know that that's something that is an issue and you're aware of it, that's the first step in changing or improving. If you're not aware of it, there's no way for you to even find out. So they can still say everything was great, but you didn't know anything on making your practice better and knowing what that is. So always finding out what the gap is. And it's temperature closes with a scale of 1 to 10. It's, when you're talking to somebody, say, oh, I work with so-and-so. You say, oh, great. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank, their legal advice for working with them? How would you rank working with them? Well, I'd give them an 8. Oh, really? Why so high? All they do this, and this. Well, that's what the client, really likes. If I notice you give them a 10, what's missing? Well, if they did this or this or this, you could ask them, is that a big enough area where you might want to look at other options? I don't know. Only you can decide. If you came upon another situation next week and you're going to decide between me or them, would you give me a chance at it? And I will concentrate on those areas that the other attorney fell short in. That's the start, right? So now we know what's most important to the person. A great exercise in maintaining contact with existing clients is, how would you describe working with me? And when your clients are describing that, they're going to tell you what's most important. Do you really know what your clients love about working with you? That's a tough one. I don't know that I can answer that for all my clients unless I really called it and said, how would you describe what I do? What did you like most about working with me? And now you're going to know what they found to be most valuable. Now you know what you need to continue to deliver to retain that client, especially if it's a referral source. Because that's what they're finding most enjoyable with you. You respond well to messages. You're really thorough when it comes to reports. I really find that you don't ever say, I've never done that before, which then tells me you're not interested in doing it. You always respond with, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. I work with other sales trainers on projects, and when I get a call from a prospective client, they say, I have a problem in this particular area. And I'm going, wow, that's fascinating. Tell me more about that. And depending on where I am with projects and stuff, I say, I know somebody that I'd like to maybe suggest, let me call them and see. I think they might have some more experience in this. I'll call them. I'll say, well, I've never done that before. Well, I'm certainly not about to give them a lead or a referral because that's their mindset. I've never done that before. No. I don't want that mindset. I want to, wow, that's interesting. I'd really love to I'd love to do that. That would be, a project. That's the kind of person that I want to work with. Our beliefs and our outlook has so much of an impact on what we do and don't do. A few summers ago, I was riding around on a friend's boat on Lake Minnetonka. There's about 14 of us on the boat. We're looking at these beautiful houses, as we do, touring around the bays. And I'm standing next to this young lady that I've known for many, many years. And she says out loud, I can't imagine what it's like to live in a house like that. And I turned to her and I said, don't worry, it'll never happen. Put it out of your mind. Stop worrying about it. And she got really upset with me. As she should have, which is exactly what I wanted to do, is I really wanted her to get upset. And she goes, what do you mean by that? Don't you think I can? And I said, no, I think you can. I think you have all the talent, the ability, and skill in the world to live in a house like that. But you're telling yourself, I can't imagine what it's like to live in a house like that, versus saying to yourself, I wonder what it would be like to live in a house like that. So our self-talk, what are we saying to ourselves? And having the mantra of just rejecting the things and getting out of your comfort zone and thinking, I wonder what it would be like for this to happen. Wonder is the beginning of change. No wonder, no change. So think about your comfort zone. Think about where you're most safe. I started my sales career selling real estate. And my broker came around. I I think I got pretty close to 100% on my test for that. They didn't give me the score. This was back in 1987. And my broker came around and looked at me and the bullpen, my desk, my briefcase. I got my MLS books, my HP12C, my map book, my lockbox. I'm ready. Got everything a realtor needs. My broker says, "How's it going, Scott?" And I said, "Good. I'm ready. I got the phone right here." My broker's, starts looking at his shoes and looks at me and he says, "Scott, I gotta tell you, nobody in the office is gonna buy anything from you. You gotta get out of the office." I was most comfortable in the office, but nobody's gonna buy anything from the office. I had to get out of the office. So I closed my briefcase and I went and hung out at a coffee shop or something like that. Probably why I'm not selling real estate today, is because I just could not get out of my comfort zone. So think about, where are you most comfortable and how much time do you spend there? And if we're really wanting to grow our practice, or we really want to be able to generate more conversations, we need to get out of our comfort zone, and we need to start more conversations. More conversations are going to lead to more commitments down the road. We build our network, we build more people that know of us and know what we do. That's the first step. And building our practice. Any comments? Anybody want to share what they took away from today, or like most, or like least, or what are they going to start doing or stop doing? About a quarter or two.
The thing that I liked most was that whole conversation about, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do I stand? Oh, that's wonderful. What did you like best? And what's in the gap?
Yeah,
Like, just that whole structure is really rich.
and they held something back.
Yes. I guess you could also tag on and anything else and anything else,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. What else? I mean, it's like, if you've ever gone to the deli counter at Lund's or Byerly's, what's that experience like? Walk up and say, "Can I help you?" You say, "Yeah, can I get a quarter pound of the corned beef there?" What's the next thing they'll say?
Anything else?
What else? Watch them. I mean, they're masters. These are the best salespeople there are. And one word. And I suppose I should have some cheese with that too. And well, the potato salad looking kind of good. How about some of that? And they just keep going.
I almost get uncomfortable with that if I'm ordering like several things at the deli.
Oh,
Cause I feel like they're like trying to get me to the end,
yeah. Well,
keep tagging things on.
adding up the ticket. That's what it is.
I recently had a purchase and the salesman said to me, he said, "You're going to get a follow-up call from the company
Yeah.
on the survey." And he says, "I'm gonna let you know right now, anything less than a 10 is a failure for me."
Wow. How did you feel about that?
I thought, that's kind of odd. It basically puts you on the spot to say, you're either gonna take that survey and give them all 10s, or you're just gonna ignore it when it comes to the email.
Wow. Yeah.
Because he said outright, he said, "You're gonna get a follow-up from the company based on
Yeah.
what I did here today and our purchase." And he said, anything less than a 10 is considered a failure. I'm letting you know that right now.
Okay. So how would you have handled that if you were the salesperson? It's a great scenario. What would you have done differently?
Oh, I don't know, because my experience was I did ignore it. When it came.
Oh, okay. Because he didn't.
I didn't feel like he kind of expecting a 10 out of
Yeah.
it. And I'm thinking to myself, he knows who's responding to the survey. He knows whether guys
Right.
telling me that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then about a week later, I get the follow-up email from him. You still need to take that survey.
Oh.
You haven't taken that survey yet. And I'm like,
Okay.
it's kind of high pressure.
Yeah.
I think it would make sense to say something like, my goal was to
Yeah.
give you a 10 on all these in service, so if any of them are less than that, please explain how I can make it a 10,
Yeah.
rather than telling, that kind of defeats the purpose of doing the survey.
Yeah.
Telling them to give you a high score.
And it also brings up the topic of you asking for, how did I do a scale of 1 to 10
Yeah.
versus an independent third party asking the same question.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like an expectation.
Kind of brave approach and saying, my goal is to deliver 10s. And if you were to take the survey today, how would I rank? And let's talk about anything that I fell short on. I want to be able to deal with that right now, and I want to make it right. Can we do that? And now
Interesting approach.
it's already been approached. I do continuing ed for real estate agents. I have 2 classes on negotiations. Each of them are 3.75 hours. And I send out a survey at the beginning of the class. And it's got probably about 10 different areas on it And I'll say, folks, everybody have a survey. Okay, please write your name at the top of the survey. And I said, here's my goal is that you give me all 5s on all these areas. So before we start, this is what my expectations are, is to fulfill all of yours in these 10 areas, okay? So please, if I'm not delivering that, please tell me during the program, because I want to make sure that I deliver all 5s. And I get the survey, nobody else gets a survey, it's not like the state gets a copy of it. And I get all 5s, and it reminds me what I have to do when I'm in front of that group too. Because they're paying and it's legally they have to do it too. And there's many options available for them. In some cases cheaper in doing that. But yeah, doing the 1 to 10 is very powerful. What else? Anybody gonna stop doing anything or start doing anything or anything that stood
I
out?
think I like your advice on bringing things up in every conversation.
Mm.
Cause like, so I work a lot with people who it's generally a one-off situation, you know, like I'm handling some employment dispute or something, and then, you know, hopefully once that's over for them, they're not going through it again right away.
Right.
So it's a little different than like a business relationship where I'm working with somebody continuously over the course of a long time. But even some of those, you wind up really only having 3 to 5, you know, actual long conversations with the client before things get resolved.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I know, you know, we always do it at the end and ask them to write a testimonial on the website. But it's a good thing to keep in mind because we do get a lot of referrals from, you know, people have friends who have similar employment disputes or that kind of thing. And so I like the idea of how it would trigger that in their mind that if it comes up in conversation, they would be quicker to think of it.
And sometimes it's great to bring it at the beginning of a relationship. So, you know, as we start to work together, one of the things that I'm gonna ask for when we're all done is a testimonial. So I want to give where you're gonna be able to give me a favorable testimonial. Are you comfortable doing that? And that is also putting the spotlight on you saying, I've got to achieve their expectations and I need to ask them what their expectations are. It's the only way that I'm ever going to disappoint somebody is to not meet their expectations, right? Do we always know what their expectations are? Sometimes we don't, do we? I mean, can we be assumptive, thinking that we know what the clients want? Did we really ask them what they want? Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're assumptive. Sometimes we've gone through the process so many times, we know what the options are on the outcome, but do we really know what their expectations are? And yeah, dude.
I sometimes get in trouble for saying this, but I think men make better salespeople because they're used to hearing no and then proceeding anyway.
Right.
Women hear no from men and they get devastated, but men go, okay, next.
I don't know. You might have some
Rejection is part of-
information on it.
Rejection is part of the human experience, right?
When you're in sales, you get really used to no, and I've learned to say, thank you.
Thank you.
I love it, because then I know where I'm going from there.
Yeah,
You know, Phoebe
No, it's not bad.
I know the name. Yeah. Yeah.
says, I love no because I'm that much closer to yes.
Right. As a salesman.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm grateful for any other comments you have on today's program. Was it a waste of time? Was it worth it? You got what you paid for?
Do New Yorkers
Mhm.
deal with direct communication differently than Minnesota?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I was a lot more abrupt with New York attorneys. And I mean, my close was, we're just talking about your reputation. And it's up to you what you want it to be on the World Wide Web. If you want it to be available, or if you don't want it to be available. And if you want to save money, buy cheaper pens, but don't spend the cheap money on your reputation. And that was it. And I said, West Group, we've been charging you 4 times the amount of money since 1923, and we're not about to start now. So we're going to be here. And I had some very fun clients, fun attorneys to work with. But I just kept calling. I would never stop calling. And I was making at least 25 to 35 phone calls a day.
Attorneys return phone calls, don't
There
they?
you go.
No, not from Westlaw or
They
from
don't.
West
Well,
Group?
no, it was West Group at the time. I just kept calling and call tracking reports. I love the call tracking reports when they came out because I was number one. 275 calls in 1 week. And, very little coming in direct to my extension. My friends didn't call me at work during the day. I was busy. It's not what I'm there for. I'm there to sell.
Dialing for dollars.
Yeah, and I love that. I still have the sheets still. But that's what it took. It was just managing behavior. Again, I wasn't the smartest. I was the newest. There were other people in that department that had been there a lot longer. They knew more about the products, the company. I was very eager to generate the most amount of revenue. So it's really a fun job. And then West Group changed their distribution from 13 specialized reps, 5 in the office and 8 out in the field that had bigger law firms, to handing the firm side over to the 600 market reps that work across the country, selling Keysight, Westlaw, and then here, now we have firm sites. Now you're going to sell websites. The thinking in that was a little error because the reps in the marketplace had contacts with librarians and no contacts with marketing partners. So you can't just say, well, you've got a contact with that firm, sell them a website instead of selling them Keysight. Can't. You have to start all over with a different person. And they spent about 4 years trying to get that to take off. And then they started the fine law department and then hired a sales team just for fine law to go out and sell websites again. So Stephen, I think, is going to be here today.
I think he's on the webinar.
Is that online? Great, thanks, Stephen.
We have a great relationship with him.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
So he's been doing that for many years. So he's kind of doing what I did back in the day. Great. All right, I won't hold you up. We're 6 minutes too, but I'm grateful for any comments you have. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm with that.